going on, everybody, and welcome to the GLL PUBG Season 1 Grand Finals live from the PGL studios in sunny Bucharest, Romania. It's a pleasure for me to be back, and I'm sure it's a pleasure for Natu on the very left. And Andy, have you been to Romania before?
Yes, I have.
Awesome. Well, it's great to have
Question is, have you experienced Romania yet?
I was playing poker at Romania.
Oh, that's
a couple
true.
months back.
Right. How did that go?
Otherwise, haven't really enjoyed Romania until this weekend.
Yeah, well, it's great to have you guys here. I will be your desk host for the duration of this event, and I'm sure by now you've guessed these guys are my trusted analysts. Andy, I'm sure people at home are already aware, but would you like to give some background on yourself?
I'm Andy Pyro. People call me Andy. PUBG player and a Nordic streamer, full-time streamer, and first of the, let's just say, faces that have been recognized, and probably not all the good things, but you know, personality in the PUBG scene.
Awesome. And Natu, someone that I've known for quite a while. Both of you have finished. Natu, could you give some background on yourself as well?
I was just going to say, you know, Andy, personality, I think that's exactly what he is, right? So, more than anything. Yeah, obviously I come from Counter-Strike. That's where I've been, and 15 years of that, and basically just been around in esports for the longest time. Before there was anything called esports, actually, we were called cyber athletes back then.
Cyber athletes.
That's how long back we have to go.
Of the internet ether. We
Sounds like
that.
a movie.
Exactly.
All right. It's like a bad movie. Like a
Tron.
bad movie as well, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, Natu, you are a legend, and it's a pleasure to have you back as well. Now, let's talk a bit about the format and exactly what's going on today and tomorrow. So we have 8 matches each day. Today, we are going to be playing on Erangel, and the most points, of course, wins, but the points are split in a particular special way, and that is as follows on screen. If you win a map, if you finish in first place, you get the maximum amount of points, 100, and that decreases as you go down into the 15th and 16th placings, and also kills are worth 4 points each. So if you do finish a map in first place, you do not necessarily finish on top of the scoreboard. Kills are important. And of course, there are $50,000 on the line. And we have 16 teams from NA and Europe ready to battle it out. What do you think of our point system, guys? Because I know in PUBG, it's kind of interesting to see how it's developed over time.
It has been. They've been working on it constantly. It's not hard. Still, some leagues use different point system itself. They're trying to balance on the kills and the positioning, hold it constantly on the time. Still trying to, you know, make it good that consistency matters more than just one win, basically. The kill system now is going to be tough because it's only 4 points per kill, but you can still make it a lot of points in the end, though.
Yeah, I mean, the evolution it's necessary for an esports game. It will take time for it to really iron out and find the right balance between what should be the reward between topping the charts in terms of the leaderboard on the game versus, you know, actually engaging in the fights and getting rewarded for that as well. So I think it's better that we get more points from the kills because it needs to be an integral part for the game. Obviously, from an entertainment perspective, it's very important that we do see a lot of action, right? So yeah, it's good to see. Obviously, hailing back to the early days of PUBG esports, who didn't really get a lot of reward for, you know, getting kills,
we were talking about 1-2 points.
Yeah, so people were camping out in the blue a lot, you know. Especially there was this Korean dude, I think his nickname was Evermade, who
yes,
made
I
his
remember
way
that.
to the top 5 just by literally being camping, you know, by some rocks.
Exciting in its own way, kind of, because gaming the system, right, is surely
it's fine.
important
It's fine.
But he was the first guy who actually brought it up. People still use it, and people started to use it afterwards as well. After Gamescom, a lot of teams were using, some unmentioned teams still use that same tactic, which is at this point is
you can mention them. We don't mind.
Yeah, well, like, it's basically we're not talking about just camping. We're just talking about like some teams come really late because they want to get stacked up with loot, but it will punish you in the way that you might lose.
And
that.
It should.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Well, guys, we can go more into these details shortly, but first, let's head to an interview with one of our other hosts here, Kelly, who sat down with solid FPS from Cloud9.
Hi, I'm Solid FPS. I play for Cloud9.
So how exactly did you get started into PUBG?
I got started in PUBG basically for the fact that, like, I play a lot of Battle Royales. Like I got into the series through H1Z1 like back in 2015. And then as I heard that, PUBG was entering early access and then Battle Royale, it looked pretty good, got into it, started playing it, got addicted to it, and here we are.
So how did you get into the competitive scene?
I was playing duos with Chappie at the time, and we were just being serious with the leaderboards. Our main competition was Smack and Vis. We now play for TSM, or are on TSM. And we heard that Esports was coming to PUBG. They got signed by TSM at the time, and then so we started looking for an org to represent because apparently, Esports is coming to it. So we're interested in whatever competitions at the time. So because we were a pretty good duo, and then so got signed to C9. Gamescom happened. We got like first place in the duos tournament there, so that was cool. And then just evolved from there.
And what sets apart Cloud9 from the rest of the teams that we see here?
I'd say our team sticks to what we've been doing online for the most part. We adapt because on LAN things change when you're playing against teams that you don't get to play on or play against online. And so we have like a pretty adaptive strategy, and then we try to play as fast as we do online so that we can maintain that same level of same pace and aggression.
Well, you've been going to tournaments since Gamescom. You've been to a few of them. Is there anything that you want to see continue to grow for the competitive scene here?
I would definitely love to see just more LANs crop up. I think that's where you actually can prove yourself as a top player in this game. There's a lot of technical issues that you have online that you don't have on LAN, and so when you play on LAN it feels way different, and I think it's just better.
Do you feel that there is a team here that stands out to you, one that you could see as your biggest competition?
Well, everyone knows FaZe is the top team. They're the most consistent. That roster hasn't changed. They're really good at Erangel. We'll see how they play on Miramar. But yeah, they've always been the most consistent, so that's just the team to look out for.
Kelly and Solid, some great nuances picked up there. And I think it's very interesting that Solid is already kind of noting this history that's being built with PUBG and esports. Andy, you've been around it for a while now as well. How have things developed over time? Because that can kind of bring us into talking about the rules that we didn't mention just before.
Let's just say that it's constantly being developed. Not as fast maybe as we would want to. But of course there's the casual point of the game, and that's always important in these kind of stuffs. But at this point he mentioned that in LAN it's a lot different. That's true. That is actually true. They're using different clients than in online, so it will affect the gameplay a lot. But at this point I want to point out that they're now using the old client, which makes that everybody been playing for months now with new settings, new kind of stuff. So it's a step back now that they have to play old Miramar map tomorrow, which is going to be really interesting, and the old circle settings that we've had. So it's going to be, I'm waiting to see how they're going to react to that.
Natu, could you dive into that in a bit more detail? So for instance, we have 16 teams per map as opposed to 25. We've got these rules that Andy has touched upon slightly, and also between the two maps, different loot.
I mean, the big picture is that the fact is that there's only been 5 LAN tournaments in the history of PUBG. So it's very early days. It always takes a long time for a game to really iron things out and make sure that the rule set, even in terms of how the maps are, like Andy was pointing out, Miramar has added a lot of changes that they will have to revert back to, which will change the dynamics of how the map plays. So there's a lot of little caveats here and there that still are in place that could potentially affect the outcome of a game.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how all of this plays out, especially considering that for a lot of these players, this is going to be their first big LAN experience. And for some of them, even if they have LAN experience, it will be their biggest one yet. And talking about the teams, let's look at them in a bit more detail. So, from the EU side of things, and guys, please do chime in at any point you'd like, we have FaZe, Crimson, Na'Vi, Team Kingwin, Rogue, No Loot, Lumbermill, and Knights. And then on the NA side of things, we have Ronin, Ghost, Envious, Shoot to Kill, FlyQuest, Cloud9, Nova, and Optic. There are some very well-known teams at this tournament, but then we also have some dark horses. And let's talk about FaZe Clan in a bit more detail. We can see their roster on screen. Andy, I've heard that these guys are quite strong favorites.
They are. I'm seeing that. Unfortunately, chat, we all see that there's a couple pictures wrong there. And a couple right, but FaZe is definitely, they've been playing the longest with the same roster that they have. They always play well as a team, and They've always been a team basically that all the other teams look up to when it comes to. Back in the days when they were a Gorilla Core, and they've made only one player change, and that's it. And they've still managed to have the same loot spots that they go to. They fight.
Yeah, they have a famous strategy, right? They have a particular town they drop into.
Exactly. They don't even go town. They go to multi-powers, both of them, but they trust individual skill. That's what they've had, like on the early stages as well. When they drop, they trust individual skill, and they basically use the space that they have to loot as much as possible, like every other team should. But we got a lot of teams that drop into like towns and stuff together, and then we have split looting. That was, I think, was one of the first teams that actually started to do it, and it's been effective because every time you see FaZe, all right, there we go, it's a full team with full level 3 gear, snipers, everything you need, like, let's take a combat. So they have a, advantage in that point.
Yeah, okay, now Andy, let's move on to Na'Vi. Na'Vi, this is a very interesting story because these guys were unsigned up until recently, but they had some fantastic results, and Na'Vi, one of the most famous esports organizations in the world, swooped in and picked them up.
Yeah, I mean, they obviously got the second seed in the EU side of things, and I got the pleasure of watching a player that's nickname I can never pronounce, Pinyamanoda.
Poker Molodoi. Poker Molodoi.
I think that's the same guy. And he had a game of I think 22 kills in the duo series. So
and with our point system, that can be hugely important.
That would always be huge, right? So definitely a lot of skill, and it's going to be really interesting to see how they fare here.
If I don't remember wrong, Kruby had 28 kill squad game in High Chair League at one point, and we got Kruby and Navanger, well, Kruby, Navi now. We have these Russian players who suddenly came out of nowhere, and it was a little controversial because they were really good players, and nobody has seen them before. So I was proud to see Avanger as well in Katowice to actually perform so well in a LAN event without having even that experience that a lot of other pro teams had already before that. So there are some people who really need to be watched out. They're
all right.
Good players.
Well, let's move forward now and take a look at Rogue. We still have a bunch of teams to get through. So, Andy, these guys have been doing great online, but they still lack that top spot finish at a LAN tournament. Is it important for them to have a great finish here?
It is, but let's just say that Rogue has though always been there. It's been tough because at the moment, as an EU player myself, we don't practice a lot. Like, we basically practice at all against NA teams right now. So it's been tough to see that. They're not NA team, my bad. I was talking about NA teams. But Rogue has always been the ones that if they get the circle, they get into the top 10. It's been tough finish in top 5. If they get the circles, they're a good team. They can finish it off. They can win the match easily if they get the chance for it. But with the circle being involved, if there is, let's call it about FaZe and any other good team, the fighting has ended mostly into like top 7.
Well, now we've spoken already about 3 organizations that a lot of people will be familiar with. We should move on to a dark horse, I think, and that would be our first one, Lumbermill. These guys have kind of got a very interesting history because they are, again, currently unsigned, but they've been performing well online. This is their first big LAN final. Not too.
There's a definitely they should make an organization out of Lumbermill. That would be a great brand.
They should.
Wouldn't it?
I'm known about Lumbermill.
Lots of wood jokes there. Lots of wood jokes. Let's not go.
There's potential there.
Let's not go too deeply into the wood jokes, but I'm sure they can have a strong finish if they'd need.
The finish because they have a finished player.
They have truthfully, sir, and truthfully, like the Lumbermill is something I'm familiar with because for some reason Method we run into like Lumbermill really often. I don't know what's in it.
Magnets,
Yeah, it's the Finnish bang. Like we always end up somewhere.
The Finnish bang.
They're really good at consistently going into top for somehow. Even though they don't like have the odds are against them, they still manage to go top easily. I don't understand how they do it, but they have probably one of the top players at the moment.
Yeah, do you think a team like that has a realistic chance of winning a tournament like this?
100%. At least basing on top 10, but we'll see how the game treats them.
Yeah, I mean the thing is that this tournament is so much about endurance, right? Because it's a lot of maps, and you have to consistently make it into the very last bits of the games, and then also be able to engage in the fights to get points through the kills. So to be able to actually win it, obviously, well, we've seen a couple of teams that are managing to do it very consistently. But then again, for some of these guys, we are still very early stages in terms of them playing in these tournament environments. So there are so many variables. Really hard to like try to think of who will really make it into that far.
I've met Lumbermill's boys. At least truthfully, I don't remember was it the same roster that they had, but the first LAN tournament they qualified to Oakland, ESL
Yes.
Oakland. So, but they did not do that well there in Oakland itself. So I'm curious to see if they now, picked up a little bit, or they, the LAN pressure is over and they can actually perform as well as they do online.
Yeah, very interested to see if Lumbermill can bring the wood and the endurance at the same time. Moving on, let's take a look at Crimson Esports. Now, these guys are one of the stable European online teams, but they're also waiting to prove themselves. Andy, can you tell us a bit about them?
Crimson, what I've seen that they're at this point at least, I think they are one.
Some people say top 5, like.
Yeah, they are. They're consistently in the top 5. They've had their downhill, but let's just say that they're one of the best teams that can finish off. They got a couple really good shooters, and we've seen, for example, I'll highlight NBS, which is one that you should be scared when it comes to shooting in the game, and they can close it up as long as they just get in there. There's so many good teams that die to rotations, I can say that, but we'll see. We'll see how it happens.
But it's true though.
It is. Rotation is the toughest part for any team, even for FaZe. Like we can see FaZe also, even though they're one of the most consistent teams, the consistency lies in the fact that if you lose 2 members to start for rotation and stuff, they still have that 2 members that make the best out of it. And Crimson is really good at it though as well.
All right, well, the first game is quickly approaching, so let's move on to the next team, No Loot Gaming. Now, they are the only fully German team that... sorry, this is Kingwin, apologies, guys. Talking about Kingwin, they're on screen right now. I don't know too much about these guys. Natu or Andy, do you have any background on them?
Larson is I think he's the IGL in the team. He's been on the start already. Kingwin's LAN performance last time when we had ESL, I don't remember what they're in the PGL, but when it comes to ESL Katowice, they did not end. I think they were like 12th, 11th, so they have pretty tough LAN there, and I'm hoping that they will pick up a little bit more here. They've been also consistent, not as consistent as many other teams, but in top 10, yeah. Not top 5 material at this point, but I'm sure they will, pick it up. They just need to do something.
Yeah, okay, well now we can move on to No Loot Gaming and have a little bit to say about them. These guys are the only full German lineup still waiting to be signed by an official team. Yes, they are currently orgless. Can probably tell from their Pepe-inspired logo. Natu, thoughts on that logo?
I do love it. There's I think certain people out there in this industry that would probably ban these players for using this logo, but out here we're good. We love a bit of Pepe.
Yeah, I don't. I'm going to be honest. I don't know the full controversy with Pepe, but he started off as an innocent meme, and I think he's a funny frog.
Still is an innocent meme, if you ask me.
Exactly.
It is.
And so, do you guys think a good finish here can make the dream come true for these German players?
I mean, obviously, the first LAN tournament for this team, so...
But they made it this far.
Yeah,
so.
Testing waters, making this far out of so many teams, week in, week out, being consistently making sure you get this point to be in the top 8. Obviously, they have the qualities. Now, it's a different scenario, again, to be able to execute it here.
And it's not the first time that we have, an organization team actually stepping up and being the underdog who actually wins the whole stuff.
Well, it's an opportunity for these guys that are unsigned to prove themselves and potentially get picked up by any organization out there that's looking. Talking about interesting organizations, this next squad, the Pittsburgh Knights, were the only team coming here that decided to boot camp for an entire week in Bucharest prior to this tournament. Andy, how important is that?
It is really important, but I think Crimson as well boot camped.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, I think Crimson was the ones who also boot camped, and it does affect a lot when you can be with the guys, get that chemistry in the next level from online.
A little, obviously, caveat on this team. There's a food poisoning
Yeah,
yes, they
yeah,
do. They have a
yeah.
stand, and isn't that right, Natu?
Yeah, so that's obviously not optimal going in. Even if you be boot camping, you're missing, one out of 4 players.
Yeah.
That would be a lot of things, out the window to an extent, or having to adjust.
Yeah.
So it's not-
Unfortunately, one of their players had to say good night. The
Huh?
team's name's
See
Knights,
what you
guys.
did there.
Moving on, let's talk about the Samurai Squadron known as Ronin. All right, so these guys, who are technically not really an NA team anymore, as they switched to 3 players from the EU and 1 from the NA, have some interesting stuff.
That's an interesting to discuss, like the mixture of having NA and European players, actually. Like
Yeah.
They're playing on NA right now.
Yeah, okay.
When it comes to scrimming and stuff, they play NA side, so...
And apparently next season, there'll be a fully European team. So is there already an agreement there that their NA player is going to leave, or do you know any details on that?
I don't have details on
Okay.
that part at all, but I'm sure, I think at this point, there's so many good teams on the EU side that for some organization, it might be actually even better. Even though, you're a good team and yourself, you've been top on NA, you will take it to the next level 100%, because if you're at the moment top NA teams, and you can start playing against top EU teams, it will just basically extend your knowledge of other teams and the playstyles.
Well, suffice to say, they have been a stable team, and they were #1 in the regular season. Moving forward, we go back to an extremely recognizable name in esports, and that is, of course, Team Envious. They had a very good high-placing kind of run during tournaments, and they're one of the better PUBG teams from NA, and they've been around for quite a bit of time, and this is actually their first LAN. So Andy, how do those dynamics mix together?
I was actually talking, I've never met, maybe once I've met Envious team on online, but it has to be something like Curse or something like that, because we haven't played at all on EU against Team Envious. As you said, it's going to be their first LAN event, and they're, what rank were they in the normal season?
Number 2, C2.
Yes.
They were 2. All right. So that's probably going to be their highlight now, that they need to keep it up, because I have no idea what to expect from them. No clue.
Again, we can go into another team that have a storied history in esports, FlyQuest. Natu, would you like to chime in at all?
FlyQuest.
When you're joining an organization like this, you surely have to feel a bit more pressure. You're carrying on a legacy, right?
I mean, it depends how you take it, and obviously, I think the better part of being a part of a established organization is that you should have the structure behind you to make sure that you can play up to your abilities. Depending let's say if they have a sports psychologist or coaching staff, all kind of different things that will help you just concentrate on the playing stuff. So I would say it's more an added good thing, just because of the structure. It says. You shouldn't take it as a pressure. It's a privilege, isn't it? To be able to.
And there's a Finnish guy there playing as well.
Yeah.
Lost HD.
Lost HD.
He actually, I don't remember, did he move to the United States, or did he just go boot camp there for a while? But he basically went there all in, and he joined our organization.
Well, throughout esports these days, we're seeing more and more international teams, and it's great to see PUBG picking that up. Now, moving forward, we can talk about Nova Esports. So this is an organization, as far as I know, that usually specialize in mobile esports, and they've dipped their toes into other things as well. And right now, we're looking at PUBG. And so they are a big dark horse here. They recently showed a great performance at the Stream.me Invitational, which they won. Are they on a roll right now, Andy?
That's basically all I've seen from them, from Nova. Nova is new for me as well. I don't really even recognize the players that much. So
Richie3, it's my boy.
My boy Richie, eh?
your boy.
No, but obviously now we're going to see the first couple of games and kind of start to get this story going and see how they eventually decide that type of teams.
Definitely, the first games will let us somewhere, when it comes to the play style, how they play. I'd say that after 4 games, we're going to see a pattern already.
So yeah, you have a couple teams that you expect to be up there, and then the rest of it's just like a big jungle of who knows, right? In terms of how they fare against each other. But that's the fun part of it too.
Indeed. Up next, we have Ghost Gaming. And so they made a splash onto the scene at IEM Oakland, and even after some roster changes, they've managed to stay relevant, and they've stayed somewhere near the top. Is it fair to say they're one of the best teams in NA?
Yes,
I mean,
I think it is. They have a now set up that basically Turtle, my old teammate, myself as well, and Balok came there And when I saw they won,
Turtle, there he is, Danish.
there's Turtle. Yeah, Turtle is an old teammate of mine, really good player, and I remember he recalling that he wanted to play it, you know, with another, you know,
Dane.
yeah, another Dane. Never said that one before, by the way. Probably said Danish. It's the same. All right. But anyways, now they have obviously a chemistry. They won the
The PGL PUBG.
PGL PUBG itself, and you can see that when you have a team that basically just boot camped before that, they're doing really good. The chemistry that they have that really good shooters, and Balogas and IGL, they might actually like be in the top here as well.
Yeah. Well, following on from Ghost Gaming, we know it's very important in any game using guns that you have to shoot to kill, and those are the team. That is the name of the team that we're talking about right now. These guys, again, are from the US, and they're probably not a favorite, rather the opposite. They're here to prove people wrong. Are these unknown quantities going to throw off the more established teams, Andy and Natu?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, still, I think, and generally speaking, there's so many things in terms of, obviously, you know, the teams have kind of developed within their scenes, you know, who's going to be taking over what part of the map, especially initially, and then when it comes to rotations, where do they go as well, depending on the circle, that if you are a team that teams haven't really been used to playing against, then you might be able to obviously come up with a surprise of how do you react to certain scenarios.
We've seen
and that would be a spanner in the game, right? That all of a sudden you're looking at a team that puts themselves in a very advantageous position.
Now we'll see it now at the start, because it's the toughest part when the NA and EU plays together and they all have this, you know, where everybody normally lands. So I'm not sure how they've managed to do it yesterday. I heard that there've been a lot of people, you know, in same places contesting, and some places are empty. And I think everybody's watching, like, where you can actually land when the show gets on. So normally when it comes to underdogs like this, I've seen it before, that they might end up going somewhere and actually get just trashed in there.
Following on from those guys, Andy, we have Cloud9, of course, another organization looking to invest in PUBG and its future. These guys are, you know, of course, having to play up to a very big name, and they do have some big names from the community, like Kelly, who spoke to Solid earlier today. What can you tell me about these guys?
Cloud9 is probably one of the most NA experienced teams when it comes to LAN events. They've always been not just invited, but just also qualified.
In the middle, he's leaning right back there. No,
that's
I'm kidding.
Moody, that's my boy. Moody and Solid and Frozy. I know these guys personally as well. They're good guys in game, good guys IRL, and I really hope that they can do it 100%, but they can also freeze.
Yeah, I remember watching them in games where they've been in horrible situations, but still utilizing smokes, for example, to create themselves like a massive wall for them to make across the field, and still making it work in a situation with like 3 or 4 teams alive. So yeah, I mean, definitely a team that's consistently getting through, like Andy was saying, but well, again, it's hard to say how do they fare in this setting now.
I think that's something that's so exciting about being involved in an esport like PUBG that's currently growing. You know, ingenuity and inventiveness surely can be rewarded, but it comes with a risk. Now, our final team is another stalwart of esports, Optic Gaming. So it's great to see Optic and FaZe here, you know, two rivals. They're often seen as El Clasico esports teams. When they go up against each other, it's kind of like a bit of a meme at this point.
Yeah, it's cool to see that it extends to different esports, right?
Indeed.
It comes from one and goes to another. You know, it's extended its way all the way, you know, through the Counter-Strikes.
Yeah, starting COD.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. So from an FPS to another.
Optic Gaming, I met them at the Katowice as well. Their consistency in the LAN as well was really good. Unfortunate effects was that one of the players were watching through a wall. I don't remember, was it accidental or on purpose, but it actually did cost them the money spot in the end. But otherwise, they would have been really good position there. Hopefully that does not. I think that it's not going to happen, not even accidentally here. They're probably going to be more careful about that. And it was a sad event, but their consistency on LAN was admirable.
Awesome. Well, it's not an accident that we have casters here ready to go as well. Let's bring them in and have a chat. It's Tobiwan.
Oh, it's an accident. It's 100% an accident. We were never invited. We just decided to rock up.
How's it going, guys?
Good.
Yeah, Yeah,
I think we're looking forward to some games today for sure. Absolutely. I mean,
You'll have a few.
yeah, and no doubt. I mean, you guys broke down everything in the desk there, and we're excited to see a lot of teams not really engaging with each other ever at LAN. So this is going to be a lot of new territory.
I think the beginning of the game is going to be really interesting. We pointed out, like, where do they land? You know, because we're mixing up different NA and EU scenes here.
Well, we do know in professional PUBG that first period of like 10 minutes or so, it's very cagey. People aren't ready to engage, right, guys?
Well, I mean, it's they avoid each other like
Yeah.
like as
Yeah.
best as much
Like
as
plague.
they can.
What's my
Avoid each other
win
like the
condition
plague.
again? I
didn't
need to
wanna say
have
that.
4 players left alive at
Yes.
the end. That's the way I win, right?
I mean, there's obviously situations where they're going to clash at some point in the early game, especially going after vehicles or something like that. That's where we'll see a lot of early game deaths. But for the most part, it's just trying to get to your loot spot and trying to survive just at least to the first circle.
Awesome, guys. Well, please do go ahead and take it away. I cannot wait to see how this first match plays out.
Oh, fantastic. Now we got rid of the baggage. We can actually
Beat it,
get
analysts.
yeah, we didn't need them anyway. Like, it was just Andy Pyro. I hear he's a streamer only now.
Yeah, oh, wow.
Because he couldn't qualify.
Punch out, Maverick. Punch out. It's too early for this. we have a window we can see him from
Yeah,
here, too.
yeah. Hi, everyone. Hi. Farewell. This is my final PUBG event now, because Andy will kill me at the conclusion of today's stream. I always wanted to cast Miramar tomorrow.
Oh.
I'm actually looking forward
Okay,
to
good. Well, at least somebody.
Yeah.
You know what? All the flack that Miramar gets, I honestly think I'm interested to see in a competitive environment for the first time. We're going to see how it's going to work out. And I mean, there's been a lot of criticism on the pro side, but ultimately it's all about Erangel today. And Erangel is the classic map. Everyone's used to it. And there's just the era of a new competition about to start. And I, for one, am ready to see how these teams, like I said, who haven't seen each other in the past, clash in both maps.
Yeah, and also to see like who can actually come out on top, because we have so many teams who are like such high quality as well. Like, like in the last event that we cast actually in this studio, so the PGL event, like it was only 1 kill was the difference. So every single kill matters, and getting this early position is going to mean a lot too. So we're already actually into our game 1 of 8 today. So grab yourself a cocoa. We'll be here for a while, and we're going to see the early drops as it's a straight cut on the plane going through.
Absolutely, and I mean this is a nice neutral plane path. You know, we've seen a bunch of harsher plane paths and games paths, but now this is going to allow a lot of teams to get to their preferred loot spots, and really there's not going to be anywhere off limits. It's going to be a little bit difficult for Rogue to get down to their home at the military base, but ultimately they're going to be collecting vehicles along the way, and we will see North George fill up as well. So as we see people float down, it looks like we're going to start to see now where teams have decided they want to post up for this tournament.
Yeah, I just got to start with the FaZe dropping Milta. What a surprise!
I mean, it's not going to
We're
change.
definitely changing things up here.
They have the benefit of the elder statesmen from all these tournaments, right? So everyone just knows that if FaZe is in the tournament, they're not going to bother with Milta Powers. It's not going to happen. So.
Yeah, but instead they can take over the rest of it. So you can look into Milta itself and then heading over towards the west. And no one in Primorsk. Obviously, that's a very, very long drop for anyone who wants to make it up that way. But Lumber Mill actually not going towards Dalbo. In fact, it's actually Crimson taking the northeast all the way up to Kameshki with vehicles already.
We actually saw a bit of a crunch down here, and we're actually moving to it now where it's McCoy from Ghost taking shots at Nova, who have landed for vehicles. So this is what we were talking about beginning of broadcast, where getting those vehicles in the early game is going to be super important. And for Nerf Me Please, he did take a shot from Balak as he's trying to get to the bridge. So now it's just a matter of securing those vehicles and staying safe, and it looks like Nova's going to be able to do just that.
Yeah, no early casualties. That's what we want to see, at least in this one, as we actually get our first circle. It is going to be up towards that northwest side. So smack bang, the plane went straight through the middle of it. And of course, in order to actually break it all down, we have ourselves the weatherman, eye in the sky.
Thank you very much, Toby, for this introduction. You're welcome. Thank you very much, Toby, for the introduction. Welcome to the weather panel, when I'll be breaking down what's happening during the first circle. And there's a chance of red zones, but not really. That's just a joke. In the tournament setting, we don't have red zones at all. In general, we had seen some drops of teams, certain locations in the screens that had make a meta game in this tournament, but it had, it's already been, we can already say that there are some changes in the first game, which is interesting because that will change in the next 8 games today. So far, we had a very interesting situation in the middle. Usually, there's only FlyQuest joining the middle of the map, taking the water town, and having a really huge central side of the map for themselves. But now Optic switched from the Georgopol into the middle, and they're taking Rozhok. At the same time, Nolut Gaming, which is a team that was dropping with Ronin inside Yasnaya, they switched to the middle of the map as well. That's one of the implications of, you know, early fights that might happen right now after the loot phase, and that will be something that we'll be keeping close eye on. When it comes to the first circle, now this is something that we can talk about because it's an example team like FaZe is known for taking very long rotations around the map, like an example this way. But at the same time, there's a huge change in the metagame because this is one of the tournaments where Vitality is not playing. We have a lot of different teams, and Vitality was always dropping on Milta. This time, Ghost has all of those locations, all of that location for themselves, and now this will be something that might change the way the game is being played out, because if Ghost goes aggressive against FaZe, if Knights will also make it hard for FaZe to go up north, or even Crimson, which is dropping Kameshki, will make FaZe life hard, then they will have to take a route just straight through the map, like this, through the map to the circle, and just take the middle side of the first rotation. I think Andy also mentioned the fact that we're playing on an older client, which will make the rotations a little bit different. And in this case, the middle of the entire circle around here will be important for all of those teams that will be making the first rotations. And we might actually see someone taking a compound in the middle of the circle just during the first rotation, have a scout in there, and just hold up the position so the other members of his team can join him later on. It will be, I think, one of the main strategies that we'll see on this patch, and it will be interesting to see how it develops. I think that's it from the first panel. We'll be, you know, having those panels every single game, and now we're going to get back to the casters.
Thank you, Lothar. We'll see how everything comes to pass. I think the very standard thing is 99% death rate and the 1% chicken rate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was 100% accurate.
There can only be one.
Yes.
So actually, it was a great pickup by Lothar there on the weather panel, talking about how FaZe is going to rotate here. Now you can see that northern pass that they like to take up around Severny is not going to be accessible to them, as they're going to have a lot of teams in their way. So for FaZe, trying to get up towards that northern region will be a little bit more difficult, and we'll see how Ghost actually interacts with them, because Vitality and FaZe have always been right next to each other, but Ghost has a much larger tendency to be aggressive, and we'll see if maybe they want to make it a little bit more difficult for FaZe to get through that Milta region, or even through that northern part for the Knights. So interesting here again, just looking at that first circle teams now, trying to get a little bit concentrated in the center, but still a lot of looting happening, especially around that Georgopol area.
Yeah, everyone's kind of hanging on the south side of Georgopol. I thought for a moment the FlyQuest would move all the way up to the northwest side, as Lothar was also pointing out. With Optic dropping into Rozhok, they had to get a little bit quicker out of Watertown because they're under pressure from multiple sides. But instead, they've actually picked up almost a choke point to get everyone out from both Rozhok as well as through the southern side of the map into the northern side. So if this circle pushes north, they'll be in a great position. They're already having a little bit of fun with Ronin, who are coming in close as well. But this is going to get really, really clustered, moving through from Pachinki into the southern side of the mountain.
And before this first transition comes in, looking at the concentration of teams, looks like Optic is going to try and bank around that Watertown area just for their initial hold. They're going to take control of that choke point, and maybe for the teams that are opting for the southern end of the zone, and the better chances are that it will go south more than north, but anything can happen with these things. So for C9, having a little bit more time and space, they're getting a little bit closer to shoot to kill. And for now, it looks like it's going to be Ghost mixing up with the Knights.
Yeah, so Knights are in the same spot we have seen like Kingwin hold and Vitality hold previously with that, what you're talking about. But now Knights they're bailing out. They know they've got to get in nice and quickly, get into the circle. FaZe, this is the best thing that can happen for them. They've got a lot of space to move up. Even if they are going to go through the dreaded lumber mill, they'll get there in time. Nova, as well as Rogue, are taking their sweet time as well on the Southern Island. Nice to see two teams actually playing that Southern Island.
I think Rogue has a bit of an easier transition to get to the current play zone. They're going to come in below C9, but they will likely take the edge. Now, a team we haven't actually talked about just yet is Na'Vi. Na'Vi coming out of Primorsk. That first transition not pressuring them too much just yet. But Na'Vi is the one that we want to watch, especially when it comes to these open field areas. We've seen them hold, especially at the previous PGL tournament.
Yep.
They get very aggressive out here. And we see now shoot to kill.
Have the run. SDK needs to be able to connect. Not hitting it. And that is a very fast bike away. But there is another player from Rogue in the neighborhood. The long shots. The long shot.
Whoa.
Evil Knievel over the corner and away over the hill.
So it looks like that was just barely escaping. It was actually maybe Texas maybe to look to pick this up. Voxic still on his bike.
Oh, he gets knocked. Ronan was there. That was that extra player I was talking about. And that's going to be our first kill. It's Knights losing 1. A team which, well, we were talking about earlier today where these guys, they're really, really strong when they're stuck as 4, but this is going to hurt them hard.
And speaking of being down as far as their in-game count goes, they're actually playing with a stand-in as well. Our understanding is that Kramer's got a bit of food poisoning, so at least for these first couple of games, he's going to be out of commission. So not only dealing with new opponents, but also dealing with a bit of turbulence within as well.
Yeah, that's definitely not going to help him at all. But right now, I think actually one of the teams which we could probably highlight just before things get a little bit hairy is actually Lumbermill. They've moved up. They went all the way up to Severny. They got a lot of farm, and now what am I talking about? A lot of loot, and now they're going to push into the northern.
Where does that come from? That term? Where does that come from?
I don't know. Multiply items. But Lumbermill, like now they're going to be able to hold the northern side of Georgia Pole. They're in a really, really good position with very few teams contesting, apart from Ghost, who is now making their way into the circle and heading to roughly the same area.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to post up around the plane crash. Ghost is going to not get too close to where Lumbermill. It looks like Lumbermill wants to hold that choke point around that North George area, but for Rogue, they're now making their transition, and they are still, again, the Knights on their move. Oh!
Yeah.
Going down.
Knights went straight through the middle of Rogue. They actually got flanked on both sides in the open field. And that is the worst case scenario for Knights at the very beginning. They're actually now down to, I believe, 1 player left in Knights.
They account for all of the deaths so far has been on the Knights.
It's actually Kramer. Kramer is the last one who's left.
Yeah. Oh, so that's so who are they missing then? I can't remember who it is. Maybe it's Survivor. I can't recall. But either way, they are down one man. And we see here a nice crate. They got the AWM no scope in there, and the always necessary vertical foregrip. So that's a nice pairing with the AWM.
There's an M4 who longs for that vertical grip, man. You can't knock it.
Well, the first aid in the ghillie suit as well. So we'll see if anyone can track down that loot crate. But look at that concentration around that center point.
Mm-hmm. This is going to get really, really like that's sort of like FlyQuest early movement. I don't know how much loot they've managed to gain for that one position, but they're going to have a lot coming to them on foot anyway. So Optic holding the ruins. You've got SDK you have to push out of Pachinki potentially, but we don't know where the next circle is going to move. We'll find that out in the next minute.
Really like Optic's positioning. Actually, they've spread out within the ruins. They've got the hold both high and low. Spread out not too far to allow anyone to get in, but holding those ruins is going to be important for them through the mid game if the circle continues to shake their way. But it looks like it's going to be Kingwood now taking some shots at the transitioning Lumbermill.
Yeah, this is Lumbermill actually coming over the north side. Surprised to see them actually make that move this early on. Kingwood are already very well established, and Lumbermill was able to back out in time. But Wookie Bookie is actually caught inside the river. Not the easiest way out, but at least he's safe for now.
Yeah, he had to ditch it into the river to avoid the withering fire we see the U.S. there at the bottom.
I think
of
the
river.
engine's flooded.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be useful anymore. So the rest of Lumbermill looking. I think the water is playing a little bit of an effect on there. I don't think there's actually 8 players on Lumbermill, but regardless, they're moving around. But we will see that that next shift come in centered, but not favoring a lot of those southern teams.
Yeah, there's that northern circle part I was wondering about. That's where Lumbermill's probably like, maybe we didn't want to push all the way down south. FlyQuest, they're in a great position for this circle. As far as choke points go, you've actually got both Kingwood as well as FlyQuest. They're having pot shots at each other, but it's going to be all about for them just ensuring they can hold these positions and make sure it's sort of an easy transition for anyone to get into that circle.
Lumbermill, I think, is in a great spot. They're not going to have too much pressure coming their way just yet, but if we do get that poor dice roll and it does continue to shove north, that's going to be a great choke point for them to hold. They will have had a lot of time to loot up in Severny.
Richie.
Like,
don't hit yourself with your own car. And he's actually really low from that.
Yeah.
Luckily, friends friends. This is a team game.
Coming to your aid. And speaking of which, it looks like C9 is having troubles of their own.
This is that great positioning from Optic. They were nicely split up, Moody and Elusive. Try to push in quickly, and Optic, better position, better control.
It looked actually like they, I'm not sure if that was a motorcycle they were driving, but I did see 2 falling animations, so I imagine that the physics of PUBG might have played a bit of a role in that, but actually the rest of C9 still getting pressure from Optic, who's now coming out of the ruin.
They're going to go straight into the middle of the kill zone. Both FlyQ and King, when they've been controlling that area, so they go for the tower. It's going to be the safest position they can get, and maybe this Ronin push down can also give them a bit of a distraction.
It's just Texas by himself. He is on the motorcycle as well. He's going to have to ditch. He realizes now the error of his ways, and into the river he will go. But Optic, being very aggressive, they are pushing wide and far, trying to get an angle on C9.
Are they actually taking the mountain? Is this what this positioning is all now about, or?
Well, they're at the base of it. They do have a bit of cover naturally. They can
they've
get up to
split.
where, you can see where I believe that's Hetror. Yeah, Hetror's taking a nice cover spot there. But they are going to now stay split, so they're going to maintain that vision. But for now, Optic playing very aggressive here.
Yeah, as long as they can hold the line and not get picked off. We've seen splits really bite teams in the bum before, while the rest of them can just hold together. So coming in through the side, so Optic, they do actually have the hill. So eyes in the sky, they see so much movement. But it's STK, it's NLG, and Rogue, and Envious. They're all coming up, and they can be coming up behind that split Optic side.
Looks like Nova's being held out of the zone by FaZe. They have now re-entered their vehicles and have opted to get away from that Watertown area. They've moved completely away. So FaZe was taking pot shots at Nova, could not get entry, and they're going to opt to completely avoid them and take that Razak bridge and maybe come around where Ghost is. But they do have some open compounds around there. Not that they know that, but they do not want to go head-to-head with FaZe.
It's actually the best decision they could have made. Like, as you said, like open compounds, a lot of space to move, and once that circle repositions once again, they can play it a little bit better. Like they can, yeah, it's a lot nicer than at least the southern side.
Looks like it's going to be Na'Vi, maybe potentially.
Are they going to contest for the hill?
Contesting for the king of the hill right now. So it looks like Optic is moving that way. No vision towards them just yet, but for Na'Vi, playing very aggressive. When they are handed an opponent, they will go after them tooth and nail. So we'll see what Na'Vi decides to do here. But Optic is still pushing up this mountain, and it looks like they are poised to potentially clash here.
Man, it's almost like this team is just, okay, we need as much information as possible. You can potentially see down, like, obviously we have all the numbers to see everyone crisp and clear. But they are most definitely surrounded. Rogue actually takes a couple of pot shots up towards the Optic hill.
That's actually going to be good for them. They're going to now pause and wait to see where those shots are coming. You can see 17 now looking through that 2x down towards where Rogue is held up at the compound. So Na'Vi not going to clash just yet. Looks like they're going to pause, and they're on the low side of the hill, but they're relatively close to each other, and this next shrink is going to dictate what the next movement looks like as Crimson, Nova, Ghost all head on the edges as well as FaZe.
Yeah. So closest combat which can come right now is probably STK. Going up against No Loot Gaming. They, if this circle, which it probably will pull in, these two teams will bounce into the back of each other.
So it looks like Optic is now going to come down the hill as well, or at least LOS themselves.
Okay, never mind.
Ooh, wow. Actually now handed a great position with that circle shift. So the ruins are now going to be probably taken by FaZe. They have to wonder, though, having heard those shots from Optic, if they think they might still be occupied. So FaZe is going to have to make a decision here, and the ruins are their first point.
Look at that north just start to envelop down south. Kingwood and FlyQ. This should be an absolute turkey shoot for them. At least
FlyQuest.
Yeah.
Opens up first.
Yeah, that's gonna be Rogue running into them.
But here,
how many people can ditch? Lumbermill was able to get past Kingwin's gunfire, but now they're coming into the middle of Optic, or on top of the hill. That 3-seater bike is death at the best times.
Looks like Lumbermill is going to make it to the base of the hill. They don't have the ability to completely get on top of them there, but Larson is still taking shots at the trailing Wookie Bookie, who had to ditch it into the water once already.
Something's got to connect sometime soon. It's just lead, can't lead.
Yeah, the AK is not super great for that. You can see Larson using that as the primary, and it's still lots of pressure for Lumbermill, who have made it so far.
Crimson are going to drive straight over the top of Ghost and into the middle of FlyQuest's line of fire. Plus, remember the C9 boys, they had the last two left who got into that watchtower. They are all ditching into the water. It's the only real choice. Some of the Crimson will go around the side, but Ghost, they've got their feet wet.
So Ronan and Ghost now put in a position where they're going to have to take the coastal area here, and it looks like the river is going to play a factor. Now, with the circle the way it is, the river is likely not going to stay in too much longer unless we get an unlucky dice roll. But at least for this transition, it's going to be a useful tool for teams like Ghost, Crimson, and Ronan, who have all had to use it with all these chokes being held. So now it looks like FaZe was able to take the Ruin as well. So it's still Nova trying to figure out how to get into the play zone. They have been held out this entire time. Still trying to figure out where to go.
If North doesn't work, maybe we rotate back down south.
They
we end up at Watertown. At least FaZe has moved in. And for once, it's not FaZe chasing teams into the circle. It's FaZe who have got the position. And the greatest position of all, which is going to be ripping apart anyone coming out that water if they want to swim south.
No doubt. So depending on how this goes, we have actually seen that Ruins water area stay in for these types of circles, but considering the massive play zone that is around that Georgia Pole mountain, it's going to be now up to Na'Vi to determine how they want to position themselves, because there's a lot of arrows pointing that way.
Yeah, they went low. They tried to make it through the tree line at the bottom of the hill instead of taking the hillside itself against Optic. So everyone else just bunkers in the meantime, and this is Nova. A rock, a hard place, or a FaZe and STK crossfire is where their options lie.
They're going to be able to use those hills, but we see now it's going to be FlyQuest taking pot shots into the water, and it's still the long... Ooh, nice little shot there. I believe that was a headshot from 17 coming off the top of that mountain, landing one on Pokemolodoy, so he's going to have to now deal with a damaged helmet as well as using a very valuable couple of bandages or first aid kit. So for Na'Vi, you have to wonder what they're going to be able to do to rotate here, because Rogue is really making it difficult for them to get anywhere.
If they move quickly, maybe they can get around the northern side of the circle, because Rogue has also been shooting at them. They may realize that this is just a horrible place to be no matter what happens.
Looks like Optic is maybe telegraphing that a little bit as well. They're pushing forward towards the edge of the mountain, and Na'Vi has nowhere to go. No. You can see Rogue is continuing to put pressure on them, but now looking at FaZe, they have lots of information here. They can see all the little fishes swimming around in the river.
Yeah.
And Yempty having that scope as well as that M4 all kitted out, ready to rock and roll. FaZe has taken that, but you can see now it's Nova finally finding a way in, cresting the hill, and it might be a bit of pressure coming onto FaZe.
Yeah, the fact that FaZe is moving north, Nova has that space to get through the southern side of the Ruins, and STK, they were having a firefight with Nova previously, but not anymore. Optic have started their move, and the circle pushes us far east. Everyone from the north, Kingwin as well as FlyQuest, will finally have to come out of their cover and push into basically FaZe's greatest position, the northern side of the Ruins.
Yep, FaZe has taken the best possible spot. They're now doing a 2-2 split between two spots in the Ruins. And that map pressure is going to be huge on the entire eastern half of the map.
Lumbermill was able to take that small compound to the north, so there really is no cover. There is no cover for Ronan and Crimson. Anyone who wants to swim down here is basically going to get peppered the second they get out of the water. And Optic are also in a bit of a hard spot too, because Envious, that kind of dodgy position you have just to the southeast of the mountain, now becomes the greatest position as it holds the western side of the circle from Rogue, Na'Vi, and Optic.
FlyQuest, having held that choke for so long, are going to be basically stuck there for at least for now. They are going to have to choose what they want to do. It looks like they're going to try and go to the western portion of the play zone.
Can they get to that small island and then just swim over?
It's possible, but that's going to be a lot of movement in the late game here. It's still Na'Vi taking lots of pressure and returning fire onto Optic.
Yeah, you got to remember, this is still like crack shots inside of Na'Vi. There's a reason why this team frags so high, but this isn't one of the high reasons.
Normally
it's their positioning and their high ground advantage. Kingwin are actually taking up the mountain at the moment, so they've made their way out.
Kingwin known for their aggression as well, maybe setting up a bit of a trap for Optic. But now it's FaZe really making it difficult for anyone to get out of the water. You can see FlyQuest has made it in there, didn't opt for the island.
Yep.
But they can stay safe. But when it's time to come out, it's going to be a dictate as to who has made landfall first. And looking at that northern portion, looks like it might have been Ghost. Oh, we got a dead body in the water there too. I wonder who that belongs to. Looks like it's...
Crimson finally, Ronan's actually getting a kill onto this one. It's that northern side of the circle.
There's Interrogate taking some fire. It's Hax taking those long shots with the 8X. Just trying, ooh, lands a headshot onto Lockwood. And yeah, it's Crimson. Oh, going down and out, actually. That's an instant kill for Lockwood. So that's another pickup there for FaZe.
And we've just got a whole bunch of fish right now trying to find a way to evolve into the land creatures they want to be. But this is what we knew was always going to come. FaZe just ripping apart the northern side of the circle, finding more kills. That southwestern side is also finally moving in too. So Envious is going to be pressured by both Optic, who have come off the mountain, as well as Na'Vi, who are coming in. And King, when they've taken the hill, but they'll have to move with the circle.
Hax is doing a great job of making it very difficult for these guys to come up for air. And that is a problem where they'll start taking that tick damage. Looks like not happening just yet, but that, again, northern and eastern portion of the play zone is really lighting up, and we can see Rogue laying into Na'Vi, who's still not been able to make it in, but it's Optic taking damage as well.
Not just laying in, dropping him down, so Optic lose one, Na'Vi will lose one as well. And Rogue, well, they have that southern side of the circle. Na'Vi has managed to push through, but SDK are going to get into the mix too. But Ghost, they managed to get up and onto dry land, so they also have this great angle that Balak is holding at the moment, watching Ronan trying to also get in.
Lots of action around the map. Looking, it's the Knights taking damage, Optic as well. It is Kingwin setting that trap, and Ronan has already taken one casualty, and anyone stuck in that water is now paying the price of I guess, playing that water, and there's nothing they can really do. But FaZe and other teams are just making it very difficult for anyone to do anything right now. FlyQuest taking more damage.
That circle, it's actually going to push everyone down again. Envious's compound, No Loot Gaming will stay in, and Na'Vi just have to bunker in with the remaining players in the south side. But Rogue will definitely clean them up quickly and then gain control. But this is going to be, again, another big shift for all the teams.
Yeah, that northern map pressure is going to be huge. FlyQuest has made it out of the water so far. I believe only losing one, Ronan as well. Crimson's still there, down to 2. Knights have been eliminated entirely. The first team going out having a rough start, and definitely didn't get any better for them. Kingwin's still taking some casualties. So I'm actually really liking the position of Envious in the map. They haven't taken any damage just yet, and they are picking up frags.
Yep, they're actually making it real issues for Kingwin. Kingwin, who decided to go in through that northwestern side of the circle and try and take the mountain, but as they came down, lost a little bit of footing. Ghost having to clean out this compound.
It's lumber mill there.
Yeah, they moved in here a very, very long time ago. But Ghosts have the numbers, and they already got the one knock.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage, but they're actually trying to pick up as many frags on the reverse end in the water as they can. So fighting a two-front battle here is Ghost on the northern end of the play zone, but they are running out of time. The circle now beginning to transition. Everyone's going to have to move here. This is not looking super great from a time management perspective, but Lumber Mill's right in their way.
Yeah, how does Lumber Mill get out of there? Because FaZe is actually in the perfect spot, so they've already moved back one, so Jempty is inside the perfect spot. Kingwin.
Oh, it's Frolicker.
Yeah, right behind the rock. Behind it. So low in life, but Miraku, he can do it, but he'll get knocked as well. The circle is on the way in, and this is going to cause all sorts of problems and all sorts of casualties.
Solid FPS there trying to clean up, and looks like it's going to be Miraku and Frolicker getting a little cuddle in here as they are both doomed, I believe. So Frolicker standing strong here with that fancy haircut of his, but he will go down and out. So Ghost has basically tied up here with Lumber Mill.
Yep.
This circle's doing lots of damage.
But FaZe are getting so many kills while all this is going on. So they're two frontliners that were held up at the church have just, well, they've hurt at least Lumber Mill on the way out, but it's the Ghost players they're beginning the kill on.
So Balak going down to the play zone. We did lose Kingwin in that battle as well. FaZe definitely the benefactor so far, picking up extra kills. And look who it is. It's finally Nova.
Yep. Catch him in the open area. Didn't last long for Nerf Me Please. As FaZe realize what's going on, and they're turning their attention that direction too.
So now it is Nova actually taking a lot of pressure on both sides. I'm not sure, but that looked like a final kill there potentially on Nerf Me Please. And we see now Locknarb and only Landoon's left standing, but FlyQuest is trapped.
They have to get out of here. The circle's going to push him out, but Locknarb, he's got it on perfect lockdown.
So Locknarb holding this ruins area. FaZe is just above their. They have the ability to push down there. Yeah, they do have the circle right now.
It looks like Loss actually got taken down by the play zone, so he denied at least the points for the kill. But the circle will restrain itself and move a little bit north-centered.
Oh, Turtle.
Ghost. Profi's still on his way in through the outside too, but okay, no he's not. Never mind. that's done.
So Solid with C9 still there. It is FaZe now looking north, trying to figure out where they can pick up some more kills. Still 4 strong, and they have picked up 7 kills so far, so standing tall. So for Rogue on that lower end of the play zone, still trying to deal with the remnants of Na'Vi who are still holding on.
Yep, they got a drop on Poker. but there's only one person left, which is going to be Shade. I don't know if he can do much more. Oh, Rogue can't keep the run going. So STK found the angle.
So STK now putting pressure on the on that gap of the play zone. Rogue stuck in no man's land between both Na'Vi and STK now, but it's all about No Loot Gaming quietly taking a really nice compound and holding out shoot to kill. We haven't actually mentioned them at all.
No.
But they have, I mean, now looking at them, they're in a great spot in the current play zone, best compound available, and STK is now going to have to deal with them after they deal with Rogue.
Meanwhile, everyone else only has trees and wood for cover. That's going to be it. But STK, they need to move quickly, so they're trying to. They're pushing around the western side of the circle. Now that they've got through Nick, it's going to be a simple flank up. I say a simple flank up, but Envious is coming out. Optic sitting behind him. Na'Vi as well. Rogue's in the middle of this. It is a clusterbuck on the western side of the circle.
Absolutely. Rogue still kind of tangled here, and now they're getting pressure from STK, who is rotating along the bottom edge of the play zone, looking to pick up as many frags as possible. Rogue still taking lots of pressure, but Shade, just the thorn in their side is Na'Vi, still standing. One man left, and Envious actually now having to give up their compound as Hetror sneaks in on that western side.
FaZe is trying to clean up this eastern side so they can finally deal with moving into the circle. They've got Ronin as well as Nova there. But this is the situation with Envious. They've had that great compound. They've got one little roamer. You're seeing him inch into your screen right there, which is Hector sitting in behind the rest of Envious. Going to try and run the back part of the circle and hope he just becomes one of the crew, one of the team.
So it looks like FaZe, who has been engaged this entire time, as his
Hector,
Hetror.
Hector, you gotta move faster!
Oh.
That crawling will not suffice.
So Hetror not making it. If we could maybe take a looking at No Loot Gaming here, who is now using that position to their advantage.
This is STK having real issues, trying to push up. The circle is still going to come behind him. That circle will connect into the building that No Loot Gaming do hold. They get a knockdown. This may just be enough cover to start the pressure, especially if they lose two inside that building. It's all about pick up and get into safety.
So FaZe has actually cleared out that entire other side, but it's now all about STK trying to take this compound. They've taken a bunch of casualties on the way there, so I believe it's one down on one side, two down on the other.
Envious just ripped so many people. They're the last two standing, Jesse and Kedden, on the western side. They cleaned up absolutely every other team that was pushing in that way.
Yeah, really nice positioning there. Ooh, it's Uncivil's actually trapped between a dumpster and a hard place in that zone there. Nothing that he can really do.
You call that a trash position.
I get it. So Uncivil is going to have to make a decision here. He can hear all the footsteps above him, but now the last man standing on his team, he's going to be playing for placement here. Can't do anything about that. So that position for No Loot Gaming has really given them a great chance to win this game, but FaZe picked up a ton of kills, only losing one in the process, and No Loot Gaming having 4 up still. Envious and now Rogue kind of having a bit of a staring match. Envious doesn't have too far to travel, but I don't know what the cover looks like on that side of the map.
I'm wondering if this too when No Loot Gaming needs to just get the hell out of here. FaZe, they're doing this kind of split up because they know that No Loot Gaming was still inside the compound, but they own that northeastern side of the circle. They can move very, very easily into it. But where can they add the pressure points? What's the right place to go? Envious and FaZe seem to be in the greatest position. How do they now play this right?
I think they're going to have to try and rotate and maintain that high ground, but you can see Jesse very concerned with the positioning of Rogue down below him. As we see, Uncivils has been discovered and taken out, so that's going to be STK.
Here comes the circle.
Ooh, yeah, and a little bit of loot greed there. Outsider trying to grab as much as he can, maybe meds or ammo.
This may be the reason too. Like Mixie has a great line of fire down into No Loot Gaming, but they're getting in cars. They're going to take the transport, move quickly for a reposition, and well, Butts. Okay, yeah, now he's in the car. He can move with the rest of the team. But Envious is already established, and FaZe in the open. This is not what they want to have happen. The two teams at the greatest position are getting hit on the side, and No Loot Gaming just ran over the top of Rogue to come in and take the southern side of the circle. And because Envious started this fight with FaZe, you've now got a 3-way firefight going with 4 teams left, even though Rogue is just playing the outside of the circle. He will tick out very soon.
Absolutely. Very hard for FaZe to do anything here. Fuzzface being down, only 1 man left standing, and now it looks like Envious is on the ropes. That nade.
Ooh. It didn't actually get the hit onto Caden.
Whoa, very close. He's in the smoke hidden, going for the med. They might not see him.
Man, you may have actually just bought enough time. He got in through the bottom. The Rogue player is still alive, Caden coming up around the back, but Envious holds Caden. He does the work. They're taking so many. This was meant to be No Loot Gaming's moment of glory, and it's their moment of shame.
So it looks like Caden has done a lot of damage now. No Loot Gaming aware of his positioning, but now it's Rogue coming out of nowhere, coming apart for No Loot. Oh, there's only one left standing.
Are they just trying to make this easier for Haxon? Is that all this is at the moment?
So it looks like it's going to be NLG Jansen coming down, taking a look at where Ewan is. Ewan looking very low on meds here, trying to pressure him.
Head. Needs another hit. Gets it. So Rogue is out. 3 teams left.
Oh!
And make that 2 teams left. It is a 1-on-1 for the primary points. Haxon on Caden. And Caden going massive at the end. And that is GG.
Wow, that was insane for Caden. You can see they're picking up 8 kills. FaZe does take the win. But that was, I mean, that was a super uphill battle for them the entire way through, taking the first game of this tournament. FaZe looking like they were on the rocks. They're having so much pressure on them. You can see the relief and the smiles coming out of FaZe. A situation they're used to for sure. But wow, for Envious, that was a great first game for them as well.
Yeah, it's great positioning at the very, very start, being only 1 kill difference between FaZe at the very end too. This is the dream beginning for both Envious as well as FaZe. Absolutely, and I mean, having Envious come in, this is their first LAN tournament, getting that second place with all those kills. We'll see what the final tally looks like here when we get our first scoreboard update. But I mean, that was well played for FaZe. They had the positioning, but for No Loot Gaming, they skated in on position a little bit, and then it was all Caden just coming in out of nowhere, taking those 2 initial kills, and then it was Rogue trying to having survived. Yeah, at the very start, I thought Rogue was actually just going to get completely wiped when No Loot Gaming just drove the vehicles in, but then the mix-up. Yeah, so you had the position, had the high ground, but it's that crossfire. Yeah, that just distracted Envious so much too. So, I mean, that's a great first game. That was a lot of action there, a lot of stuff happening all around the map. The circle had everyone on a string there, a bit of a ping pong between north and south. But ultimately, FaZe taking that first game is going to set the precedent for now, and we're looking forward to game number 2. So that's can't wait to see game number 2. Can't wait to see what the panel thought of game number 1 before we get there.
Yeah, Toby, that was an absolute firefight at the end. I found that so exciting.
Yeah, he definitely lifted for his team.
Yeah, so it was Caden from Envy, right, who just seemed to like
hidden in the smoke.
Yeah, Andy mentioned that, Moses, that smoke at the moment is, in a way, slightly overpowered.
Well, it can play on in 2 different ways. If you have the blue silhouetted behind you, there's a potential to be potentially spotted there. So the way he was sat, he was in the low ground in the smoke, so they couldn't see him at all, and that really played to his advantage. They looked for him, didn't have time because they had pressure coming from Rogue and FaZe behind them, and that gave him the angle to just lay into them, and that really cost them.
All right, well, thank you very much. We will catch you guys later in the day. Natu, what do you think about the way that match finished specifically?
I mean, first of all, you have to say, like, the consistency of FaZe is remarkable to see. You know, they time and time again, they find themselves in positions where they initially they were in very, very good position on runes, obviously. They got a lot of visibility of seeing what's happening, basically fishing for a lot of it. But then when the hard shift happened with the circles, they still managed to make their way in and essentially survive with the whole team all the way towards the tail end of the game, even though they're surrounded by teams in south and east side coming, and everyone's hungry to get into that circle. So that's my initial thoughts on the game.
Andy, the pace of the game is something that I found very interesting because, like we addressed at the start, it began quite slowly, but then we saw some vehicles moving across the map. People started taking some pot shots. And then after that, it just seemed like there were consistent battles happening across the map until that huge, dramatic finish.
That happens normally when there's so tragic circle switches. As we saw there was multiple people were scattered all over the places. But the circle, when it switched, it basically pushed at least 5 teams at a time to rotate, and it's always a chaos. When those teams who have the advantage of basically shooting the rotations from cover, it will make people go into the water, as we saw there. And it was good. There was water in the zone, and we've seen water zones end up lately, and maybe one player in the water from a team can still bring a team up in the high. But another tragic change, and suddenly there is no water. So basically, your plan to try to survive as that is out. And we noticed that FaZe did it well, that they used the time that they had on the circle to shoot the people in the water, but no more. They moved early, they moved safely, they scouted, they had the high ground on the ruins, and they were able to scout and move early as a team and not get caught in the rotation. As we saw there, No Loot Gaming and Ghost Gaming starting to fight on the compound, which basically screwed both teams in a way, but they had to do it. And that basically was tough for them. So the late movement when you need to fight against blue and there's multiple teams fighting against blue, there's always someone shooting at you from the safe. So basically, it's the toughest part is that you need to do those situations fast and effectively to actually make it happen. Because if you lose players at the start at that point and you need to run from the blue, then it goes worse.
All right, well, Natu, we can come back to you shortly, but right now, Kelly is standing by with a guy I think named after myself, Fuzzface.
Thank you so much, Paula. And like you said, I have Fuzzface here. Congratulations on taking game number 1. But man, I want to jump into it and talk about the fight at the ruins. What was going through your team's mind right there and having everyone swim over and having the perfect position?
We just felt that we kind of need to gatekeep them, so we didn't have a lot of people behind us after we moved closer into the circle.
Something that the analysts were talking about that you might not have been able to hear, though, is that you didn't stay there, though. You guys moved when you know you needed to move. You guys didn't take too many kills. What was the decision process in that?
It was just we needed some more on the north side. We needed to keep another team at bay, so we had more space there.
And in that last fight, it looked like it was No Loot Gaming's game, but it obviously turned around in FaZe's favor. Walk me through that.
Yeah, it sort of happened. It was 4 solos at the end. And then the last circle sort of were in our favor. A lot of people were outside, so we let them fight before, and then we hacks when they 1v1 at the end.
So today it's going to be all Erangel and tomorrow's Miramar. Do you have a preference between the 2 maps?
I think we prefer Erangel.
So today's going to be your day. You're going to try and get as many of the top kills and top games today, and tomorrow, hopefully, you can make up for it.
Yeah, sounds about right, yeah.
All right, well, congratulations again and good luck in your next games. And anything you want to say to the audience watching?
No, just it feels good to win the first game. Always a confidence booster.
All right, congratulations, and let's head back to the analysts.
Thank you very much, Kelly, for that. And Fuzzface, I'm not sure why you call yourself that. That's a
brilliant nickname, mate.
But I know it's a but he has a magnificent beard. This is a Fuzzface, you know. This isn't real facial hair. He's rocking the full-on, you know, like bear.
I wouldn't
style.
even call that Fuzzface, mate. So that's more just, you know, something you take a piece of cloth and then wipe it off. One of those things.
Thanks, Natu. Going back to your point before Kelly jumped in, please
before
do,
wrecking you.
Yeah,
right,
before wrecking me.
No. The big picture, it was the second circle. You saw teams like Optic, for example, taking on over the mountain to try to get all the visibility in the world. But then for them, it was fun to see them going forward when the circle shifted towards east, and then eventually they had to come in. Kingwin actually managed to come in between them, and I think there was a third team in Volumberman was also on the mountain. And it became a scrap of them trying to survive and then make their way into the circle that already had people taking over the yellow houses, the compounds that are on the edge of that circle. So they were in a really, really good prime position to just really get a good overview. But eventually, because of what happened with the circles and their positioning being that, it's such a banker position to have, they were not able to be in the game anymore. On the other hand, you have No Loot Gaming, who were not involved in a lot of the action all the way to the end of the game, basically. They just picked the right compound, they stuck to their positioning, and managed to make their way all the way to the end.
Andy, it seems like there's definitely a strong meta already developed for the game. But, you know, FaZe, who we've talked about as being very consistent, how can a team start a game strong and carry that on? Or do certain things need to fall into place to allow that to happen?
They closed it up. Like the top 5 situation that they had there, they played it perfectly. Even though they got shot from, they did not trade the shot. They knew that they had to get to the zone, and there were not many players. They had the better circle side, like the point of it. So if they managed to survive long enough, like they did, and they still had that one guy left, then the storm started on the other side. And they basically forgot the FaZe total. And Haxady was able to move with the circle, wait till it's his time to do the work. Basically, because when Mexi went down, they had to rotate. If they tried to get the high ground with the FaZe. So they would have had 3 guys on high ground and they would have easy, shots from there, but they didn't get it. Maxi goes down first, and then they need to, have a little bit more cover. They just stayed there. They were stable, and Hack City took the shots that actually was only shot that was necessary. And that was win for them. The patience that you need to have at that point is just
pick and choose your fights, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean sometimes you just don't engage and you just kind of wait. Everyone else, let the boys play for a little bit, and then we'll chime in the end when it really does matter, because you are already looking at the very last minute of the game, basically. So.
All right, guys. Well,
the best.
yeah. Well, thank you very much for your expertise and insight. For now, though, we'll be heading to a 5-minute break. But do not go anywhere because we still have 7 games over the rest of today, and the second will be happening very shortly.